Hi everyone, Andy Ambrosius here, ChicagoPride.com's Boys Town editor, and I'm here with the openly gay country singer Steve Grand. Steve is counting down the days until his debut album, All American Boy, drops on Monday, March 23rd, but just the day before that, on Sunday the 22nd, Steve will be at DS Tequila in Boys Town on North Halsted for a live broadcast without Chicago radio, streaming online and sponsored by ChicagoPride.com. So, Steve, how are you holding up just days before the big debut?
I'm doing great. I can't believe I just was thinking this morning, this is the last week of my life that I'm actually albumless, which is crazy to think about because I've been really looking forward to this moment since I was a real little kid, at least since I was 11 or 12 or 13. At some point in there, I'd made up my mind that I was going to be an artist, that I was going to be a rock star, and that I was going to try to change the world with my music. So it's amazing that it's only a week away now. And I just have to say one thing, though. You did call me a gay country singer, which is understandable because that's the way I've been branded a lot in media. But I just have to say that I do not consider myself part of the Nashville community, although my music is certainly inspired by country, in part probably because I went to school in Nashville for a year. I don't necessarily consider myself a country artist and part of the whole Nashville scene. It was a label that was kind of put on me, which I don't see as a negative thing, but I also just think that it's not 100% accurate, especially when my fans really hear the record and hear all the different influences on it. So I just had to say that.
Yeah. No, you actually covered a great point I was going to make later on, is that I was listening and streaming to the album on iTunes.
I'm already stealing the interview.
There were some really cool and funky beats on there. What one specifically was I listening to? We Are the Night. Is that the one? It had some like cool rock synth to it. And it wasn't really country at all. So are you, kind of doing a 50-50? Are you pulling a Taylor Swift on us, is what we're
I mean, I could see why people would say that, and certainly what I've done and what I'm doing now, it seems to follow that pattern. It really is just a coincidence that really all the songs that I've released so far, there's 4 out right now: All American Boy, Stay, Back to California, and Whiskey Crime, which I just released a week or so ago. Those are probably the most, with the exception of Back to California, those are probably the most country-sounding recordings on the whole record. As you're pointing out, songs like We Are the Night really don't have a single trace of country, not in the lyrical content or certainly not in the production, with it being all dancey and synthy. So yeah, this album really covers a range of genres, I guess, and lots of different influences, which I think is very appropriate for the kind of artist I am and the kinds of fans I have. I think that a lot of people that started to like my music and started to connect with me as an artist did so for a lot of reasons, and I think one of the big reasons for a lot of people was that I sing openly about gay themes, and not necessarily a way that's shoving it down anyone's throat, but I'm just being my true self and letting that shine through in my songwriting. And so I think that was what attracted a lot of people to me as an artist. And I get a lot of comments like, oh, I didn't like country until I found you, and I really feel like I connect with you. So I feel like there's going to be a whole new group of people that really are able to connect with me as an artist because of what I'm doing on this album musically.
For sure. And that brings me to another great point. So, you're consistently labeled in the media as a gay singer. How do you feel about taking on that label and being kind of, this person in the LGBT community that's so visible?
I mean, it certainly is always brought up when I do interviews and I'm fine with that. I think that's part of the story. And I would say it maybe feels annoying sometimes, but then all I have to think about are all those kids in small towns in this country and really all around the world that still don't feel like they're being represented, that still don't feel like they could listen to the radio and hear someone that they really connect to. So if I'm, even in some small way, if I'm giving voice to some of these young people, and even not just young people, but older people, and people my age and everywhere in between, if anyone feels like I'm giving a voice to them, that's really powerful for me, and I think it's powerful for the people that feel like I'm giving them a voice. So I can't really be upset about it.
No, yeah. What is your inspiration, gay musician aside, what is your inspiration, would you say, for the album All-American Boy, song All-American Boy aside?
With the song aside?
Yes, because
okay.
Yeah, you talk about branching a little bit out of country. So what was your inspiration when writing the songs, and what is your writing process? Tell me about that a little bit.
Okay. Well, there were a few questions there. I'll first start with the first thing I heard, which was what was the inspiration for the whole album, and I guess I could start with the title. I named it All American Boy not just because of the song All American Boy, but because when I was growing up, my dad would always pat me and my older brother. We're very close in age. He's just 16 months older than me. My dad would always pat us on the head and brag to like our neighbors at church or something that these are my boys. They're just the all-American boys. They're in Boy Scouts. They play sports. They get good grades. They build tree houses. They're just your typical all-American boys. And that was an identity that he kind of put on us, and that, my parents were proud of me. And so I felt like that was something to be proud of. And when I realized I was gay, it occurred to me that I no longer fit into the idea of what it typically meant to be the all-American boy. And so me naming my record All-American Boy is kind of symbolic of me taking an identity that I felt was kept from me because I was a gay person. And I'm taking that identity back and saying, look, just because I'm gay doesn't mean I should be excluded from claiming any identity. I think we all should be able to claim whatever identity we got, whatever identity we want, regardless of things like our sexual orientation or gender identity or race or religion or anything like that. And I want my fans to feel empowered to do the same, to claim whatever identity it is that they feel connected to.
Be my all-American boy.
I think the video and the song together, because the song sounds really familiar, it uses a lot of things in rock and country music that are very familiar. It sounds in a lot of ways very typical. And I think the dichotomy of that with talking about things that are all American, having it sonically sound all American, and then you have all the visuals like Friends by Campfire and the whiskey drinking and the American flag and the old car and skinny dipping in a pond, all those things which are seen as very typical and all-American, using all those devices to tell a story of unrequited love between two men. I think that makes for a really compelling piece of work, and it's a very strong dichotomy. As far as my songwriting process goes, it's definitely different for every song, but I usually will it can happen anywhere, and if I get an inspiration, I'll sing something into my phone with like the voice memo recorder on. I'll go back and listen to it later, or I'll just make a note in the notes, on my iPhone. Sometimes I'll just be at the piano and I'll start singing a melody, or I'll get an idea for a lyric and I'll just keep running with it. Some songs take 15 minutes to write. Some songs take months to write. It all really depends. As an artist, you really just have to be ready to take in inspiration whenever it comes. And as an artist, you learn to look at all sorts of things as a source of inspiration. That's really what I see as part of my job, and it's a job that really is 24/7. I mean, I could wake up in the middle of the night and have an idea, or I could be out with my friends, with a drink in my hand and having fun and get an idea. And I really make a point to always notate in some way whatever I'm thinking, whether it's a melody or a lyric.
Absolutely. Let's talk about Kickstarter for a second, because that's a huge part of your career so far. I mean, you put a cap, right? $81,000 is what you were expecting more than quadrupled that, 326,000.
Yes.
That's right. What is that like? It must just be overwhelming to have that much support.
I'm still pinching myself for that. It's so humbling and it's so affirming that what I did and what I represent to people affected them in such a deep way that they were willing to get out their wallets and enter their credit card information online to support what I'm doing. That means so much, and that's really something that's helped me keep going throughout this last year. Every time I've thought, wow, this is so hard, and every time I've had a split second moment where I've been like, is this even worth it? Is this what I want to do? All I really have to do is look back on all the people, almost 5,000 people, all those people that contributed, and say, wow, this many people believe in what I'm doing that much. I got to keep doing this. And if they believe in me, then there should be no doubt within myself that I'm doing something that's meaningful to people.
So I was stalking your Facebook and your Instagram account and whatnot, and you've been mailing out like crazy these albums to the Kickstarter funders. What else have you done? What were the different points on the Kickstarter that you've had to do? Do you have to go out and meet people now, or how does that work?
There are a lot of rewards, and if you could still go on that Kickstarter page and people could read them all. The lowest reward was for $5, and that was, people get a handwritten thank you with their name and my name on it, and a little message from me, and we mail that out. For $10, they get the digital copy of the record and a note, and then there's all sorts of things in between. One of them, and this was the most interesting one because it's taken the most time and the most effort, but it was one of the cheapest ones. For $25, the backer sends in a picture of him or herself, and I draw it with smile markers. And so that really takes a while, because I think when I was thinking about doing that, I wanted to do things that connected to me with fans in all sorts of ways, and this was a way that was kind of humorous and light to me. But then it occurred to me that people might not understand my sense of humor, and maybe I'll draw them in a way that offends them. And of course, it's just me being like really overly sensitive about it. So I've really put a lot of time into all of these drawings, and I would like redo them if I didn't feel like they were good enough, especially in the beginning. Now more so because I've done so many of them. I'm still working on them. They take probably about half an hour each to do.
Yeah.
And that's like me. That's me now going like pretty fast. And there's almost like 200 of them.
Oh my god.
So there's still quite a many more to do. But I've gotten better at drawing for sure.
Tell me.
I'm not sure that I ever want to draw another person again.
So what can we expect on Sunday at Tequila?
We're still planning it, but I'm gonna be there, and I know we're doing some kind of games. I don't want to ruin any surprises because we're like still putting it together. But it should be a good time. I know that I'm doing an interview there, and like I said, we're gonna be doing some kind of games that have to do with my songs, and doing some giveaways, and giving away the album and some other things. So it should be fun.